Chapter 4 of Poppy Playtime has given us answers to some of our biggest questions, but at the same time, it's also left us with even more mysteries. One of the biggest lingering questions is, why exactly did Doey attack us at the end of Chapter 4? The real answer to that question is quite shocking, and is without a doubt one of the most disturbing things Playtime Co. has ever done. Doey is introduced to the player as one of our first real allies in the game. There have only been a handful of toys in the Playtime factory that we could technically consider to be an ally. These include toys like Poppy, Kissy Missy, and Dog Day. Although Dog Day didn't really get a chance to assist us, he definitely would have helped us as much as he could. Poppy, on the other hand, while she does try to help us stop the prototype, her goals are a lot more selfish. We've seen Poppy sort of betray us in Chapter 2, when she derailed the train to prevent us from leaving. The only toy that has been a real ally to us has been Kissy Missy, who selflessly goes out of her way to help us whenever we are in danger. While initially Doey gives off a very calm and happy demeanor, we know that he's a dangerous toy, just like any you would find in the Playtime factory. Pianosaurus experienced Doey's dangerous personality firsthand, which resulted in his early demise. Now, we can't truly understand Doey without understanding the child that's inside them, or specifically, in Doey's case, the children that are inside him. Doey is the first Playtime experiment that had scientists put more than one child into a toy's body. The first child was, of course, Jack Ayers, or better known as the boy that fell into a vat of clay. Jack has his own VHS tape where he can be seen opening a Doey the Dough Man toy, as well as a letter from the Playtime factory. Jack was one of the lucky few that could get to tour the Playtime factory and see how they created their most popular toys. Unfortunately for Jack, he wandered off without his parents' supervision and fell into one of the tanks. This tank contained experimental clay that was used for Doey the Dough Man toys, as well as its bigger body variation. Jack's parents were initially led to believe that their son was gone for good. That was until they received a cryptic letter from Playtime stating that he was somehow still alive. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Ayers, we can give him back to you. Your son, Jack, can live. Show this message to no one. 6 weeks from the time of receiving this letter, return to the Playtime factory. Someone will be waiting for you there. A friend. Being desperate to see their son Jack again, the parents did head back to the factory. It's also important to note the hidden meaning behind that last sentence. Someone will be waiting for you there, a friend. The letter intentionally doesn't say that Jack himself will be waiting there, as the person the Ayers family is going to meet is anything but their child.
Sir, ma'am, I ask that you remain calm whenever you interact with the patient. He's only been awake a few days now. In many respects, he's still adjusting.
Is that him? Is that my boy?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Oh, George, that's our boy, Jackie.
Why does he look like that? What did you do to him?
Stop it, George. Just stop. That's our son in there, our son.
Dear, look at it. That's not even human.
Let's just talk to him. You'll see. Let's just go in there and talk to him. Can we? Can we talk to him?
Yes, ma'am, you certainly can. Go on in, whenever you're ready.
Jack, I want you to know, I'm so sorry. I've never forgiven myself for what happened. I played it all back a million times in my head, and I know there had to be something I could have done. I could have reached just a little further. I could have noticed a little sooner. I could have. But we have you back now. That's what's important. We can...
Who are you?
Jack? Honey, it's me. It's Mommy.
Mommy?
Yes. Yes! It's Mommy and Daddy. You remember, don't you?
Leave me alone.
Hey, you'll be okay, I promise. Mommy's only here to talk.
No, I don't want to talk. Get
Susan, I think we should leave.
Jackie, I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving you. Not ever again. Do you hear me?
The gentle voices lie. I know what they do. They lie, and they poke, and they hurt. Susan, get away from me!
Jack? Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie. Mommy won't hurt you. I'd never hurt you.
Hey! Hey! Open this door! Oh, God. Susan! Please! Open the door! Please!
Though it's only for a brief moment, Jack does temporarily speak to his parents through Doey. He says the word mommy before seemingly being overwhelmed with rage at what the Playtime scientists had done to him. All the while this was going on, the Playtime scientists were watching closely to see how Doey would react to Jack's parents. Playtime Co. knew very well what was going to happen to Mr. and Mrs. Ayers. By sending them to Doey, they would be able to accomplish two very important things. The first being that they would eliminate any loose ends regarding Jack's death, and the second being that they could witness how willing Doey is to kill, even if they're his family. We're initially led to believe that Jack was the one who killed his parents. Mr. and Mrs. Ayers were under the same impression, which is why they were so surprised when Doey attacked them. However, it's very likely that the one responsible for the murders was not in fact Jack, but another child orphan at Playtime. Kevin Barnes was one of the new children we learned about in Chapter 4. He is specifically referred to as Subject 1322B in his VHS tape. Now we know Doey's experiment number was simply 1322. The letter B in this case tells us that Kevin Barnes is one part of the 1322 project. It's in his VHS tape that we learn what kind of child Kevin Barnes is, and from what we can hear, he's the complete opposite of Jack Ayers.
After a brief interruption, we've successfully extracted Subject 1322, specifically 1322B, from the Home Sweet Home. Before said interruption, I attempted to detail the subject's condition and overview the suitability of one Kevin Barnes in relation to Project Doey. The neural abnormalities noted in Dr. Newman's report are detailed in connection to behavioral issues demonstrated within play care. Trouble getting along with others, aggressive and often confrontational social tendencies, and an otherwise combative nature clearly relay that Kevin is, put simply, a problem child. What friends he does have, he's reported to have attacked in moments of intense play. These tendencies raise concerns. The subject excels in all physical tests. Reflexes, reaction time, and mental fortitude all tested well above average in game station examinations. So, in spite of said concerns, in Dr. Sawyer's eyes, Kevin is ideal for the project. However, if his use in this particular experiment is to move forward, we need to ensure we're not creating a time bomb just as we've begun stabilizing the entire project. If we're to create an experiment that can fulfill multiple assigned roles, we can't allow any single consciousness to throw the others off. Even a simple misregulation of emotions means we have 900 pounds of dough that can shift however it pleases and can turn on even those it trusts, simply because it was overwhelmed by a stray feeling. Regardless, Sawyer's word is law, and subjects 1322A and C are to be gathered for processing first thing tomorrow morning. Thus, all we can do is plan our safeguards accordingly. Yes, that's all we can do.
If Kevin Barnes was also put inside of Doey, then that would explain why he seemingly becomes aggressive at random moments. It's highly likely that the Doey that killed Pianosaurus was being controlled by the Kevin personality at the time. We saw what happened to Jack's parents, and Pianosaurus unfortunately met the same fate. We also don't know whether or not Pianosaurus was actually an evil toy. It did appear as though he was going to attack us, but Doey didn't give the dinosaur a chance. Judging by Doey's hands during the attack, it's likely he was in his final form that we would later see in his boss fight. Now that we understand the root cause of Doey's aggressive or evil personality, what about the kind personality we see when he tries to protect the toys in Safe Haven? Chapter 4 hints at another child that is unlike any other orphan found in Playtime. This child was so rare and special that he even caught the attention of Stella Graber. For all intent and purposes, Matthew Hallard is a dream child. He's thoughtful, kind, considerate, and understanding. And while maybe not as intelligent as some of the other children, averaging only B to C level work in school, nor as physically gifted, he more than makes up for it with his charm and charisma. There's nobody down here who isn't fond of the boy. It's just a shame that he came to us already a boy of 15, well into his puberty. Most parents look for a child a lot younger. He understands. Though he rarely speaks on it, I know Matthew suffers from deep insecurities. I've read the reports on the accident that put him here. He blames himself for the family he couldn't save. I believe he's on the road to healing, but the way is long, and nobody mourns the same. He's become something of a leader to the younger children though, even reading them books late into the afternoon. We allow it, sorry. The Adventures of the Word Wizard is his favorite. They listen to him when he breaks up fights in the playhouse and hang on almost every word he says. And seeing him like this, assuming his role, I think it's what he needs. Should he age out, I might even request bringing him onto staff. At the bottom of this report, there is even a comment left by Stella Graber on what she thinks about Matthew. She says that he's a good candidate and would mesh well with both Jake and Kevin. She tells the Playtime scientists to be gentle when experimenting on him, as it would be a waste to sacrifice someone like him for no gain. This speaks volumes to Matthew's character. If even Playtime considered bringing him onto the staff team, Playtime sees the orphans as nothing more than guinea pigs, so Matthew must have really been special to get this much attention. We can see for ourselves how charismatic Doey can be, from his first introduction and his interactions with the toys in Safe Haven. All the toys we find there speak positively of Doey, while some of the others make remarks about Poppy betraying them in the past.
What's Poppy doing here?
I don't know, they just let her in.
Why? That's inviting a whole lot of trouble we don't need. I mean, how do we even know we can trust her this time?
We don't know, so let's just be careful, especially around her new friend.
Employee. Can't forget that.
Shh, I think they might be listening.
None of the toys in Safe Haven ever speak poorly about Doey. This is likely thanks to Matthew's natural leadership and having to step up ever since the Hour of Joy. But Doey is just more than his multiple personalities. We are told he weighs 900 pounds and can shape himself into anything he sees fit. In the game, we can see that Doey's transformations always leave traces of him behind. We can see remnants of his blue, yellow, and red dough as we progress throughout the chapter. It's very likely that the Doey we do see in-game is a much smaller version of how he originally looked. We can only imagine how terrifying Doey must have been when he was first created. In some of the concept art for the game, we do get to see Doey from a different perspective. In this image, Doey appears to be in a cross between his normal form and his final form. It's possible that this was how Doey originally looked before he started using his shape-shifting abilities. Doey's multiple personalities were also foreshadowed in his original Playtime co-commercial. In this image, we can see 3 different versions of Doey, or more accurately, the 3 different orphans inside of Doey. The top one is most likely Matthew Hallard, who was considered to be a natural-born leader among the orphans. The younger one at the bottom right is without a doubt Jack Ayers, the same boy who fell into that vat of clay, and that leaves us with the one in the middle who represents Kevin Barnes. He is openly resisting the hug and is making a face of disgust as if he can't stand being shown affection. This dynamic between the boys comes into play, especially during the final boss scene. Doey's final form is the manifestation of Kevin Barnes' rage. We can see the people inside of Doey's mouth as he begins to charge towards us. These 3 people are of course the orphans, Jack, Kevin, and Matthew. 2 of the faces can be seen with a sad expression, while the other other one is angry. If you also notice in this image, there are two pairs of black arms that are actively trying to close Doey's mouth, while one pair of black arms is stretched out with the intention to grab us. It's clear that both Jack and Matthew are doing their best to suppress Doey and stop him from hurting us. Kevin, however, is so fueled by his anger at what Playtime did to him that he's able to overpower the both of them. During Doey's final moments, he says the line, "The gentle voices lie, you lie," when he's about to be finished off by the player. It's safe to assume that the gentle voices Doey is hearing are Jack and Matthew. The two kind-hearted orphans are most likely trying to calm Jack down and convince him we are on his side. It's very likely that Matthew was the one who was in control of Doey a majority of the time. He was the older child after all, and had a way with convicting others. Matthew probably convinced Kevin to give him control over Doey, and it wasn't until Safe Haven was destroyed that Matthew lost his influence. Given how Matthew felt the children was his responsibility, he began to lose faith in himself, which allowed Kevin to take control. Now, this brings up a very important question. With Doey now gone along with Jack, Matthew, and Kevin, what happened to Doey's body? And more specifically, will the prototype be adding Doey to his collection? We already know that Chapter 5 is most likely going to be the most terrifying chapter yet, especially with the return of Huggy Wuggy. What do you think happened to Doey's body? Will the prototype add him to his collection, or will this be the last time we ever see of him? Subscribe to the channel and let us know your theories in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, and if you'd like to see more Poppy Playtime content,